Welcome to episode 103 of Norse Myths, Legends, and Folktales. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue the Saga of Frithiof, where upon return to his beloved Framnas, Fritiof is greeted with the sight of his home being burnt, and Hilding reporting of the battle with King Ring and Ingeborg being given as the prize in chapters 12 and 13 of Frithiof's Return. Chapter 12. Frithiof's Return. The winter passed, and again were hill and valley, grove and forest, clothed with bloom and verdure. Then Fritiof thanked his host, and bidding him farewell, was soon speeding joyously away across the foaming main. 6 times the sun rose and set, and the 7th morning found him near his journey's end. Consumed with longing, Fritiof rose early and mounted to the deck. There, veiled in the midst of dawn, he saw his native shores, and heard the familiar rushing of its mountain streams. Light as a bird flew MyLinda o'er the dancing waves, and in her swelling sails the western breezes sang like nightingales. Just as the first ray of sunlight fell on the land and the sea, they entered the well-known haven. "Past the green birch woods now," cried Fritiof to Bjorn, "and Framnas greets me." With beating heart and gleaming eyes he waited. But what is this? Is he bewitched? There lies the open space where his forefathers built their dwelling, yet naught is to be seen of it. Do his eyes deceive him? He rubs them and looks again at the familiar spot, but neither house nor building of any kind is there. Only a tall, blackened chimney stands out dark against the sky. Looking closer, where Framnas stood, he sees a great pile of ruins from which the ashes whirl aloft. MyLinda's anchor is dropped, and silently Fritiof approaches the scene of devastation. Stones and charred beams are strewn around or heaped together in confusion. Fruit trees stretch forth their shriveled branches. About the leveled grave mounds lie the bones of heroes. As Fritiof stands spellbound amid the desolation, his faithful hound, Brand, comes bounding to meet him. Yelping with joy, he leaps upon his master, while out from the dale trots a milk-white courser, neighing and tossing his gold-knotted mane. Fritiof stroked the dog's head and patted his favorite's glossy neck. But the shadow on his brow remained unaltered. Then he saw Hilding, his aged foster father, coming toward him with mournful look. "Welcome, father, to the ruins of Framnas," he cried, and then added bitterly, "But why should the sight surprise me? 'Tis when the eagle is flown that boys plunder his nest. So thus does King Helge guard the hut of the peasant. Thus he keeps his royal oath. Rage at his dastardly act more moves me than grief for that what is lost. But tell me first of all, good father, where is Ingeborg?" "Alas, my son," replied Hilding, "I fear my tidings will but aggravate thy woe. Yet listen to what has passed. Scarce wert thou gone when King Ring invaded the country, his force outnumbering ours full 5 to 1. In the Disardale we met, and bloody was the battle. The waters of the stream ran red with gore. Halfdan, as ever, laughed and jested, but so bravely did he bear him, my heart was gladdened at the sight, and twice did my shield protect him from a death stroke. The victory might even have been ours, had not King Helge, seized with panic, fled, whereat the people's courage too forsake them, and flinging down their arms they scattered far and wide. But in his flight King Helge paused to fire thy house. Ring then demanded of the brothers land and crown, or that they yield him up their sister's hand. Messengers went often to and fro, and in the end King Ring bore Ingeborg homeward as his queen. Fritiof laughed wildly. "Who now," he cried, "dare talk to me of a woman's truth, since she whom I deem true as Nanna's self hath proven faithless? Hereafter naught but hate for mankind shall my bosom harbor. Henceforth the seas shall have their fill of blood, for none who cross my path shall Angervaldil spare." "Nay, son," said Hilding sorrowfully, "abate thy wrath, nor seek to revenge thy wrongs upon the innocent. Rather accuse the Norns, whose doom on thee hath fallen. What Ingeborg doth suffer, I alone can tell. Before all others her despair was dumb, as the turtle dove that mourns her mate. So doth the sea-fowl, pierced by death's arrow, sink beneath the waves, in those cool depths to pour away her life. Atonement, so she spake, hath been decreed by Baldur for Frithiof's violation of his holy place. Nor may I, faint-hearted, seek to shun the sacrifice. To death he dooms me, not swift, that were easy, but lingering, slow, to waste away with grief. To that decree I yield. Reveal to no one what I suffer. I desire pity from none. But be thou the bearer of my last farewell to Fritiof." At last the wedding day was come. Oh, would that evil day have never dawned! To Baldur's temple walked a train of white-robed maidens, led by a bard whose mournful chant moved every heart to woe. Amid them on a coal-black steed rode Ingeborg, like that pale spirit which surmounts the thundercloud. Before the doors of the temple I lifted my lily from her saddle and led her to the altar. With unfaltering tongue she spoke her vows, but unto Baldur then she prayed in such heart-rending tones that every eye save hers was filled with tears. Then for the first time Helge marked the ring she wore. With a furious glance he tore it from her and placed thy gift upon the arm of Baldur. But thereat I could no longer suppress my rage, and snatching my sword from out its sheath, approached the king as he stood before the image of the god. Of as little worth was he to me at that time as the lowest of his people, and verily a crime would have been committed in that sacred place had not a whisper reached my ears from Ingeborg. "Nay, stay thy hand, stay not thy spotless blade. My brother might indeed have spared me all this, but much a heart can suffer ere it break, and the All-Father shall one day judge between us." "Ah, Ingeborg," cried Frithiof, "thou speakest truth. The All-Father will one day judge between us, but he also metes out justice here below by mortal hand, and 'tis in my heart that I am hither led to be the judge of one. Is not today the midsummer feast of Baldur, that Helge celebrates within this temple? Now, crowned priest, thou who hast sold thy sister, thou who hast robbed me of my bride, behold, today thy judge." The burning of the temple. It was midnight. Low across the mountains burned the blood-red sun, which in far northern Scandinavia never sets on the longest day of the year. Neither day nor night was it, an awful twilight reigned. Within the temple Baldur's great feast was being celebrated. High in the air shot the flames from the sacred hearthstone, while pale white-bearded priests raked the brands till the showers of crackling sparks flew upward. Clad in his royal robes, Helge presided at the altar. Suddenly the clash of arms sounded without, and a voice was heard. "Bjorn, hold fast the door, let none escape. If any strive by force to pass thee, cleave his skull." Helge grew deadly pale. He knew that voice too well. Then in strode Fritiof and addressed him. "Here is the tribute thou didst order me to bring thee from Angantyr. Take it, and now for life or death will strive before this altar. One of us twain must burn on Baldur's pyre. Shieldless will fight, and thou, as befits a king, shall have the first stroke. But be aware, I say, for I strike second. Nay, gaze not fearfully about, nor seek escape, King Fox. Caught in thy hole art thou at last. Remember Framnas, that thou didst lay waste, and think of Ingeborg's cheeks, blanched by thee." Beside him, with fury, Fritiof tore the heavy purse of gold from his belt and hurled it at the head of the king, who straightway sank, swooning on the altar steps, blood gushing from his mouth and nose. "What? Canst thou not bear the weight of thine own gold?" shouted Fritiof. "Shame! Shame, thou coward king! Truly my sword is far too noble for thee, nor shall it taste of blood so base as thine. Silence, ye pale priests of moonlight, nor dare to lift your sacrificial knives. Back, back, I say, for thirsty grows my blade." He lifted his eyes to the image of Baldur. "Thou shining god, frown not so darkly on me." Then, perceiving the arm ring he had given to Ingeborg, his anger blazed up fiercer than before. "Nay, by thy leave," he cried. "That ring came not in lawful fashion on thy arm. Not for thee did Wanland forge its wonders, and he who is its master claims his own." He pulled at the ring, but it seemed grown fast to Baldur's arm. Putting forth all his strength, at last he tore it loose, but therewith down crashed the image of the god into the fire below. Higher and higher leaped the flames, till beam and rafter kindled. Horror-stricken Fritiof shouted for a moment motionless. Horror-stricken Fritiof stood for a moment motionless. Then, turning to the door, he shouted, "Open, Bjorn, let all depart. The feast is over. The temple blazes. Bring water. Hasten all to quench the flames." Quickly, a chain of men to the sea is formed. From hand to hand the buckets fly, while high up among the rafters stands Fritiof, calm amid the mounting flames, and directs his comrades. But vain are all their efforts. The golden plates of the roof melt and drop down into the fiery sands. "All is lost!" shout the people. "See the fire-red cock, how he stands upon the roof-tree, and ever wider springs his glowing wings." A strong wind arose, and whirled the flaming brands into the treetops, dry from the summer heats. Raging from branch to branch it leaped, and soon the whole grove was one sea of fire. When morning broke, Baldur's grove and temple lay in ashes, while Fritiof sat within his dragon's ship and wept. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.